The crash of glass against the hardwood floor silenced the Friday night crowd at the Blue Note as Emma Johnson's ex-boyfriend towered over her, his face contorted with rage. "You think you can just ignore my calls for weeks?" Jake shouted, grabbing her wrist with such force that her skin blanched white beneath his fingers. "Let go of me," Emma said, her voice surprisingly steady despite the tremble in her hands. She had known coming to her favorite bar in downtown Chicago might risk running into Jake, but after 3 weeks of freedom from his possessive behavior, she'd hoped he'd moved on. "Not until we talk," Jake snarled, his breath heavy with whiskey. "You don't get to decide when this is over." Emma tried to pull away, but his grip only tightened. The surrounding patrons watched uncomfortably, some averting their eyes, others whispering behind their hands, but none stepping forward to help. "I believe the lady asked you to let her go." The voice was calm yet commanding, cutting through the tension like a blade. Emma turned to see a tall man with dark hair and sharp eyes standing beside her table. His tailored charcoal suit suggested wealth, but it was the quiet authority in his stance that made Jake's hand loosen slightly. "This is none of your business," Jake spat, his free hand balling into a fist. The stranger didn't flinch. "You're making a scene in public and hurting someone who clearly doesn't want your attention. That makes it everyone's business." He stepped closer, his eyes never leaving Jake's. "I'm giving you one chance to walk away with your dignity intact." For a moment, Emma thought Jake might throw a punch. Instead, after several tense seconds, he released her wrist, leaving angry red marks in the shape of his fingers. "This isn't over," Jake muttered, but the stranger simply moved between them, effectively blocking Jake's view of Emma. "Actually, it is," the stranger replied. He nodded toward the door where 2 security guards now stood watching. "I suggest you leave before they escort you out." Jake's face flushed with humiliation as he backed away. "You'll regret this," he said to Emma before stalking toward the exit. Only when the door closed behind him did Emma release the breath she'd been holding. She rubbed her wrist, wincing at the tenderness. "Are you all right?" The stranger asked, his voice softening as he turned to her. "Yes, thank you," Emma said, finally getting a proper look at her defender. He appeared to be in his early 30s, with features that seemed carved by a sculptor's strong jawline, straight nose, and eyes the color of aged whiskey. I appreciate what you did." "Alexander Harrington," he said, extending his hand. "And you don't need to thank me. No one deserves to be treated that way." "Emma Johnson," she replied, taking his hand. His palm was warm and his grip gentle, a stark contrast to Jake's bruising grasp. "May I?" Alexander gestured to the empty chair across from her. Emma hesitated for only a moment before nodding. As he sat down, a waitress approached with a glass of what looked like scotch. "Your usual, Mr. Harrington," she said, placing the drink on the table with a reverence that suggested Alexander was more than just a regular patron. "Thank you, Mia," he said, smiling at the waitress before returning his attention to Emma. "Can I get you anything?" "I think you might need something stronger then." He glanced at her half-empty glass of white wine. "I'm fine with the wine," Emma said, though she took a larger sip than usual, needing the calming effect of the alcohol. "Do you make a habit of rescuing women from aggressive exes, Mr. Harrington?" Alexander's lips curved into a slight smile. "Not a habit, no, but I don't tolerate bullies, and please call me Alex." "Well, Alex, I'm grateful. Jake can be unpredictable when he drinks." "How long were you together?" Alex asked, taking a measured sip of his scotch. 8 months. Too long in retrospect, Emma admitted. "I broke things off 3 weeks ago when his jealousy started getting out of control. Tonight was the first time I've seen him since." Alex nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Will he be a problem? Should I arrange for someone to make sure you get home safely?" The offer surprised Emma. "That's very kind, but I'll be fine. Jake's all talk when it comes down to it. Besides, my apartment building has good security." "If you're certain, though I'd feel better if you let me call you a car." Emma studied him, trying to reconcile his obvious wealth and power with the genuine concern in his eyes. "You're not what I expected. And what did you expect? I don't know. Most men would have either walked away or tried to impress me with some macho display." She tilted her head, curious. "But you handled it with finesse." Alex chuckled, the sound warm and rich. Violence rarely solves problems, it just creates new ones. I've found that calm confidence tends to be more effective. And where does one learn calm confidence like that? Emma asked, finding herself genuinely interested. Years of high-stakes negotiations and board meetings, Alex replied. When billions of dollars hang on your every word, you learn to control the room. Emma's eyebrows rose. Billions? What exactly do you do, Alex? I run Harrington Enterprises, he said simply, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. The name clicked in Emma's mind. Harrington Enterprises, one of the largest shipping and logistics companies in the world. She'd read about them in the business section of the Tribune. You're that Harrington, the billionaire CEO who revolutionized global supply chain management. Alex winced slightly. I prefer just Alex, if you don't mind, especially on Friday nights when I'm trying to escape work for a few hours. Emma felt her cheeks flush. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Don't apologize, Alex interrupted gently. It's a fair reaction, I just find that title tends to change how people interact with me. I'd rather get to know you as a person, not as a business opportunity or a net worth figure. The sincerity in his voice touched something in Emma. She was accustomed to men who viewed her as a conquest, not as someone worth knowing. Fair enough, she said. So, Alex, who's just a person, what brings you to the Blue Note on a Friday night? The jazz, he answered immediately. Best live music in the city. I own a penthouse 2 blocks from here, and after a long week, there's nothing better than good scotch and better saxophone solos. Emma smiled, relaxing slightly. The music is why I come too. I'm a photographer, I shoot mostly weddings and events, but jazz musicians are my favorite subjects. There's something about capturing someone lost in their art. You're passionate about your work, Alex observed. I am. It doesn't make me billions, but it makes me happy. That's worth more than any amount in a bank account, Alex said, and Emma could tell he meant it. Their conversation flowed easily after that. Emma learned that despite his wealth, Alex had simple tastes. He preferred dive diners to 5-star restaurants, drove himself rather than employing a chauffeur, and spent most Sundays sailing alone on Lake Michigan. In turn, she told him about her small photography studio, her dream of publishing a book of jazz portraits, and her Connecticut childhood. Hours passed, marked only by empty glasses and the changing rotation of musicians on stage. When the band finally took their last bow shortly after midnight, Emma was surprised at how comfortable she felt with Alex. I should be going, she said reluctantly, gathering her purse. Early shoot tomorrow. Of course. Alex signaled for the check, which the server brought immediately. Emma reached for her wallet, but Alex shook his head. Please allow me. You've already done enough tonight, Emma protested. Consider it a thank you for the best conversation I've had in months, Alex replied, sliding his card to the waitress without looking at the bill. Outside, the Chicago night had cooled considerably. Emma shivered slightly in her light jacket, and without a word, Alex removed his suit jacket and draped it over her shoulders. This is becoming quite the knight in shining armor routine, Emma teased, though she didn't refuse the warmth. Old habits, Alex said with a self-deprecating smile. My mother raised me to be a gentleman. She did a good job, Emma said softly. They stood there for a moment, streetlights casting a golden glow on the sidewalk between them. Finally, Alex broke the silence. Emma, I've enjoyed tonight immensely. Would you allow me to see you again? Perhaps dinner next week. The question shouldn't have surprised her, yet Emma found herself momentarily speechless. Dating a billionaire wasn't exactly on her life plan, but there was something about Alex that intrigued her, his quiet strength, his thoughtfulness, the way he listened when she spoke as if her words were valuable. I'd like that, she answered honestly. Alex's smile lit up his entire face. How about Wednesday? I know a little Italian place in Lincoln Park that makes pasta that would make my Sicilian grandmother weep with joy. Wednesday sounds perfect. Emma pulled out her phone and they exchanged numbers. When her rideshare arrived minutes later, Alex opened the car door for her. Text me when you get home safely. The simple request, free of possessiveness or demand, warmed Emma more than his jacket. I will. As the car pulled away, Emma watched Alex through the rear window, standing tall and steady on the sidewalk until she turned the corner and he disappeared from view. True to her word, Emma texted Alex when she arrived home. His response came almost immediately. "Sleep well, Emma. I'm looking forward to Wednesday." As she drifted off to sleep that night, Emma realized she was looking forward to it too, perhaps more than she should after just one evening. Wednesday arrived with unusual anticipation for Emma. She'd spent more time than she'd admit selecting her outfit, a deep blue wrap dress that complemented her eyes and fell just above her knees, paired with modest heels and a simple silver pendant. The Italian restaurant, Billionaire, was intimate and charming, with only 12 tables and walls adorned with black and white photographs of the Italian countryside. When Emma arrived, Alex was already waiting, rising from his seat with a warm smile that made her heart skip. "You look beautiful," he said simply, pulling out her chair. "Thank you," Emma replied, noticing he'd opted for a more casual look tonight, dark jeans and a navy button-down that made his amber eyes seem even warmer. "No suit today," Alex smiled, "only when necessary. I find most people are more comfortable when I'm not dressed like I'm about to acquire their company." The evening was perfect, the food was exceptional, the wine was better, and the conversation never faltered. Alex told stories of his early days building Harrington Enterprises from the modest shipping company his grandfather had founded. Emma shared her journey from amateur photographer to business owner, including the lean years when she'd worked 3 jobs to afford her first professional camera. "What made you stick with it?" Alex asked, genuinely curious. Most people would have given up and chosen something more stable. Emma considered the question. "There was this moment I was photographing a wedding, nothing special, just a standard job. But when I showed the bride the preview of her first look with her father, she burst into tears. She said, 'This is how I want to remember today forever.' That's when I knew I wasn't just taking pictures. I was preserving moments that matter." Alex's expression softened. "That's beautiful, Emma. Creating something that meaningful, that's rare." "What about you?" Emma asked. "You could have done anything with your life. Why shipping and logistics?" "Honestly, because it matters. Everything people need, medicine, food, clothing, it all has to get from point A to point B. We make that happen efficiently, ethically, and with minimal environmental impact." His passion was evident. "It's not glamorous, but at the end of the day, I know we've made a tangible difference." By the time they finished their tiramisu, Emma realized 3 hours had passed like minutes. As Alex walked her to her car, their hands brushed, and without overthinking it, Emma slipped her fingers between his. Alex's smile was immediate and warm, his grip gentle but secure. "I have an early meeting tomorrow," Alex said reluctantly when they reached her car. "But I'd love to see you this weekend if you're free. I'm taking my sailboat out on Saturday, nothing fancy, just a day on the lake. Would you like to join me?" Emma hesitated only briefly. "I'd like that, though I should warn you I know nothing about sailing." "That's perfect," Alex replied with a grin. "I love teaching." Their goodbye was a gentle kiss on the cheek, his lips barely grazing her skin but leaving a warmth that lingered long after she drove away. Saturday dawned clear and bright, perfect sailing weather according to the text Alex sent Emma that morning. She dressed in the clothes he suggested, comfortable shorts, a light sweater, and boat shoes she'd borrowed from a friend. Burnham Harbor was bustling with activity when Emma arrived. She spotted Alex immediately, standing on the deck of a sleek sailboat that, despite Alex's assurances it was nothing fancy, looked impressive to Emma's inexperienced eye. "Welcome aboard the Serendipity," Alex called, extending his hand to help her onto the boat. He was dressed casually in khaki shorts and a faded Harvard t-shirt, looking more relaxed than she'd seen him yet. "This is gorgeous," Emma said, taking in the polished wood and gleaming fixtures. "She's my escape," Alex admitted. "Out here, I'm not a CEO or a billionaire. I'm just a man with a boat and the open water." The day was magical. Alex patiently taught Emma the basics of sailing, guiding her hands on the wheel, showing her how to read the wind, laughing good-naturedly when she confused port and starboard for the 5th time. They anchored in a quiet cove for lunch, a gourmet picnic Alex had prepared himself. "You cook?" Emma asked, surprised as she bit into a perfectly prepared crab salad sandwich. "Another lesson from my mother," Alex explained. She believed every person should know how to cook, clean, and manage money, regardless of gender or wealth. She didn't want me to depend on others for basic needs. She sounds like an incredible woman. Alex's eyes softened with memory. She passed away 5 years ago, cancer. But she shaped who I am in every way that matters. Emma reached across the small table, taking his hand. "She'd be proud of you." "I hope so," Alex said softly. After a moment, he shook off the melancholy. "What about your parents? Are they still in Connecticut?" "Dad is. Mom left when I was 12, decided family life wasn't for her. Last I heard, she was in Arizona with husband number 3. "I'm sorry," Alex said, his thumb brushing gently over her knuckles. "Don't be." Dad was enough. He came to every recital, learned to braid hair, and never missed a parent-teacher conference. He's the one who gave me my first camera. They stayed anchored for hours, talking, sharing, connecting in ways that felt surprisingly intimate for people who'd known each other less than a week. When the sun began to set, painting the lake in golds and pinks, Alex sailed them back to harbor with confident ease. As they secured the boat, Emma's phone rang. Checking the screen, she frowned at the unfamiliar number. "Hello," she answered. "Emma, it's Ryan from your building's security. There's a situation you should know about." "A man matching the description you gave us after the incident last month, Jake, right? He's been hanging around the entrance today, asking residents when you'd be home." Emma's blood ran cold. "What did you tell him?" "Nothing, of course. We've asked him to leave several times, but he keeps coming back. Should we call the police?" "Yes, please do," Emma said, her voice shaking slightly. I'll figure something out." When she hung up, Alex was watching her with concern. "What's wrong?" "Jake's at my building," Emma explained, her mind racing. "This is exactly what I was afraid of, when he gets fixated on something." "You can't go home," Alex said immediately. "Not until this is resolved. I'll get a hotel room," Emma decided, already scrolling through her phone for options. "Emma," Alex said gently, placing his hand over her phone. "I have 3 guest rooms in my penthouse. You'd be completely safe there. The building has security that would make Fort Knox jealous. At least stay tonight until we can make sure Jake's been dealt with properly." Emma wanted to refuse on principle. She'd known Alex for a week, and accepting such an offer seemed like crossing a boundary. But the genuine concern in his eyes, free of any ulterior motive, convinced her. "Okay," she agreed, "just for tonight." Alex's penthouse occupied the entire top floor of one of Chicago's most prestigious residential buildings. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered breathtaking views of the city and lake, while the interior was a perfect balance of luxury and comfort, expensive without being ostentatious, modern yet warm. "The guest rooms are this way," Alex said, leading her down a hallway. He opened a door to reveal a spacious bedroom decorated in soothing blues and creams. "The bathroom is through there, and I've had my housekeeper leave some essentials for you. There should be sleep clothes in the dresser. My sister stays here occasionally." "Thank you," Emma said, genuinely touched by his thoughtfulness. "For everything?" "I'll be in the kitchen when you're settled. Sailing always makes me hungry." Alone in the guest room, Emma took a moment to breathe. The situation with Jake was concerning, but she felt safe here with Alex. After washing up and changing into the borrowed sleep clothes, soft cotton pants, and a t-shirt that smelled of expensive laundry detergent, she made her way to the kitchen. Alex was at the stove, stirring something that smelled divine. He'd changed, too, into sweatpants and a fresh t-shirt, his hair still damp from a quick shower. "Pasta carbonara," he explained when he noticed her watching. Comfort food seemed appropriate. They ate at the kitchen island, the city lights twinkling below them. Emma called her building's security for an update. Jake had left after the police arrived, but not before making a scene. "I'm going to need a restraining order," Emma sighed, pushing her empty plate away. "I can have my legal team draft one first thing Monday morning," Alex offered. "They're very efficient. You don't have to do that." I want to, Alex said simply. Let me help, Emma. Something in his earnest expression broke through her last defenses. Okay, she whispered. Thank you. Later, as they sat on his balcony with glasses of wine, Chicago spread out before them like a carpet of stars, Emma found herself studying Alex's profile. What are we doing, Alex? She asked softly. He turned to her, his expression open. I'm falling for you, he answered honestly. Much faster than I expected or planned, and if I'm not mistaken, you might be feeling something too. I am, Emma admitted. But our lives are so different. Well, you, and I'm just a photographer trying to make rent each month. Do you really think that matters to me? Alex asked, setting down his wine glass to take her hands. Emma, what I see when I look at you is someone passionate, talented, kind, and brave, someone who makes me laugh and think and feel more in a week than I have in years. But no buts, Alex interrupted gently. Money is just a tool, Emma. It doesn't define me any more than your camera defines you. We're both more than what we do or what we own. Emma searched his face, finding nothing but sincerity. Slowly, she leaned forward until their lips were inches apart. I'm falling for you too, she whispered before closing the distance. The kiss was gentle at first, a tentative exploration before deepening into something more profound. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathless. Stay, Alex said softly, not just tonight. Stay tomorrow and the next day, not because of Jake, but because I want more time with you, because this feels like the beginning of something important. Emma's heart raced at the implications, but instead of fear, she felt a surprising certainty. Yes, she answered simply. Over the following weeks, Emma's overnight stay extended naturally. Her clothes migrated to Alex's closet, her photography books found homes on his shelves, and her favorite coffee mug took permanent residence in his kitchen cabinet. The restraining order against Jake was granted without issue, thanks to Alex's legal team and security footage from both the Blue Note and Emma's apartment building. Their relationship deepened with each passing day. Alex attended one of Emma's gallery showings, standing proudly in the background as she discussed her work with potential buyers. Emma joined Alex at a charity gala, charming his business associates with her genuine interest and quick wit. They cooked together, sailed together, and spent lazy Sundays reading in comfortable silence. 3 months after that fateful night at the Blue Note, Alex took Emma back to the same bar. They sat at the same table, ordered the same drinks, and listened to the same band that had played the night they met. Do you remember what you said to me that night? Alex asked during a break between sets. You said I wasn't what you expected. Emma smiled at the memory. You weren't. You still aren't. In what way? You're the wealthiest person I've ever known, yet the least materialistic. You have power most people can't imagine, yet you're kind to everyone regardless of their status. You could have anyone, yet you chose me. Alex reached across the table, taking her hand. I didn't choose you, Emma. I recognized you, like my soul knew yours before we even spoke. Emma's breath caught at the naked emotion in his eyes. Alex. He squeezed her hand once before releasing it to reach into his pocket. When he withdrew a small velvet box, Emma's heart stopped. I know it's fast, Alex said, his voice steady despite the vulnerability in his eyes. But when you know, you know. And I know that I want to wake up beside you every morning, sail with you on weekends, argue about where to hang your photographs, and grow old watching you capture the world through your lens. He opened the box to reveal a stunning yet understated ring-around diamond flanked by smaller sapphires that matched the blue of Emma's eyes. Emma Johnson, will you marry me? Time seemed to suspend as Emma looked from the ring to the man holding it, the man who had defended her from her aggressive ex at a bar and shown her what true protection felt like. The man whose protective heart had been visible from that very first night, not in aggression but in genuine care. Yes, she breathed, her vision blurring with happy tears. Yes, I'll marry you. The cheers of the band and patrons faded to background noise as Alex slipped the ring onto her finger and stood to pull her into his arms. His kiss was a promise, tender yet passionate, and Emma knew with absolute certainty that she'd found her home. 1 year later, they married on Alex's sailboat, the Serendipity, with only their closest friends and family in attendance. Emma wore a simple white dress that danced in the lake breeze, while Alex beamed at her in a light linen suit. They wrote their own vows, promises of partnership, respect, and enduring love. At the reception, held at the Blue Note which Alex had rented for the evening, Emma's father raised a toast that brought tears to every eye. To the man who protected my daughter when she needed it, but who had the wisdom to see that what she needed most was not a shield, but a partner. And to my beautiful Emma, who had the courage to recognize a good heart when she found it. May your love continue to be a harbor in life's storms. As they danced their first dance as husband and wife, Alex whispered against Emma's temple, "Did you ever imagine that night when I interrupted your ex that we'd end up here?" Emma smiled, pressing closer to him. "No, but now I can't imagine ending up anywhere else." "Neither can I," Alex said, his arms tightening around her. "Neither can I." And as the jazz band played softly around them, Emma knew that while their love story had begun with protection, it had flourished because they had both recognized something rare and precious in each other, something worth cherishing for a lifetime.